Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hello.
in.
Welcome, welcome.
How are we doing today?
Hope everyone's doing good. Hello. I'm loving this music track. The one for the waiting screen, the starting soon screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, took me a while, but I found it.
Yeah, we downloaded some of the freebie kind of music tracks you can use on YouTube and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one I have labeled as murder background music. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it was actually called. I think murder was definitely in the title,
I think so.
but I don't remember. Brain no good. So today I thought it would be good to start with skeletal bases for proportions. I have two different types of skeletons too that people could use, because I know some people like it a little bit more complex and some people like it a little bit more simple. So we're gonna go through that today. I also have the same kind of layout for a more masculine form. Obviously, I kind of tried to do like two different extremes. If you want to do characters that are gender neutral or kind of look like a bit of both, we can go into that a little bit later as well. But yeah, so we're gonna go over these basics. Might be a long one because there's a lot of stuff to explain. If you guys ever have any questions as I'm going through things, please feel free to ask and we will go through it together. And yeah, hopefully this is going to be helpful or useful. And yeah.
Yeah.
After also, when I go through when I go through everything and we're all on the same page, Fox is going to take over and try and recreate what we learned today.
Yeah, you get to watch me be a sloppy beginning artist.
One, I thought it would be fun to torture him a little bit and test him.
Right.
Two, it can also be useful to watch somebody who's more or less a beginner, and you know, if there's questions that arise while they're doing it, it could be helpful for other people as well. So
It's been like 4 months of digital art, so it's really not a lot of experience. So
yeah, I still consider you a beginner, I would say.
yeah, give me a year under my belt and then we'll go. My first commission, maybe.
Oh my god, that's gonna be fun. Yeah. We love torturing Fox here as much as we can because he likes to torture us.
That's true.
Let's not forget. He is a fae.
That's right.
Okay, so again, just mentioning it again, if you guys have questions during, please feel free to ask them in the comment section and we'll try and explain as much as possible. When you're doing artwork of a human-esque form, it could be humanoid, could be other things, I feel like skeletal structures are good for any type of art that you're doing, as long as they're somewhat humanoid. It's definitely helpful. Obviously, this is more of like a realism take on body types. I think it's always good to start with those as a basic, and if you want to morph it into your specific style, it'll make that also improve, I find. There's some people who have, I don't know, like they do chibi art, for example. The proportions are not the same at all, but you can still transfer the basic knowledge of more normal humanoid shapes into that, and it can improve that kind of art style as well. So whenever I took art classes, teachers were always like, it's always good to learn the basics of quote-unquote realism before trying any other types of art styles, because that will just automatically help you improve whatever art style you already have. So same thing goes for like manga, anime type art styles. I find if you're reading a book where you can see that they know the basics of anatomy versus a book where they clearly don't know the basics of anatomy, you can kind of tell. Like I've seen some memes of some manga artists that have very exaggerated body types that don't really make sense in certain angles. But then again, that's a choice. It's very hard. Body anatomy is very, very hard. I do recommend looking at like muscle structure anatomy, like scientific books on that, because that can also help you understand the building of a body shape. Because like I said, these two styles of skeletal structures are useful in different ways. But also understanding muscle structure can help you a lot for when you're doing the line art or sketching of the actual body form on top of these skeletal structures. Yeah. I guess we can kind of go into some of that a little bit, but I always recommend like doing your own research as well. If during this week you do your research and you have some questions for the next art tutorial stream, you can totally ask them then also, just to cover those things if there's anything that you find out that doesn't really make sense or...
Take your notes.
Yeah,
Bring
take
them
some
to
notes.
class next week.
I am the teacher. I don't know why. I don't know why I got this job. Okay, so I thought we could start with the femme structure, and then we can talk about the mask structure afterwards. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just a different exaggeration of certain shapes and stuff like that. So I can show you here the difference between the two before we really get started.
Hey, Toria.
Hello. Yeah, it's art time. So this is going to be the layout that we're working with for today for the femme structure, and then we have this for the mask structure. Again, pretty much the same shapes, just certain different exaggerations for different areas that help the body proportions look either mask or femme. And again, once you understand these structures, you can always play around with the sizing and lengths of certain shapes and stuff to help you with the type of character that you're drawing. So you can totally do like an in-between of the two. But I think mostly this is going to help people with posing, foreshortening, things like that. If you get the basic shapes like if you become an expert at it anyways. Foreshortening is always difficult. Even I struggle with it most of the time, but we'll get into that.
I don't understand.
So the purpose of this is just to help you guys with being able to pose your artwork in a way that still makes sense and doesn't look really awkward, and like people will look at it and be like, oh, I don't think that shoulder should be that size or whatever, you know. It's just to help you guys get the basics down. And once you understand it, you can start doing more dynamic poses. Obviously, I feel like having a photo reference of specific poses, especially if it's complicated, can help a lot. Or even buying yourself, you could probably get it at like a dollar store or a general store, but you know those little types of like mannequins, I forget what they're called. They kind of look like the middle structure here, but they're like little mannequins that are made out of wood that you can pose in certain positions. I do recommend getting those because then you can pose it how you imagine the pose to be, and then take a photo and use that as a reference, or just have it right next to you. But I used to do that when I was younger. I had a little mannequin like that. It helped me a lot. Okay, so let's get into this. So the different skeletal structures that I have here, this one is a more simple form. A lot of artists use this as their base because, one, it can be easier to see when you're doing your sketching on top of it, and two, it's a lot less work. You don't have to draw every single, you know, shape of the form and stuff. But then again, a more complicated skeletal structure can help you because the form is almost already filled out, and it helps you understand the shape of the form a little bit better if you like separate it out into simple shapes like spheres, cylinders, things like that. So let me get the pen to a different color so we can take some notes together.
Fuchsia. I don't even know. Purple, red, right? I don't know.
Ready to study, yeah. Hopefully my ramblings make sense.
Enjoy your ramblings.
So, normally I will start with the head first. This is my process. Everybody has different processes, but I feel like starting with the head first helps you with the position of the body. If you have it looking straight on, that's obviously going to change the pose of your body and the way that the spinal structure will work. So usually I will always start with the head first, then the line of the spine. Obviously this can change. This is for this pose in particular, right?
An ad.
An ad?
Yeah, 1 minute.
What do you want to talk about, Dan?
Well, I'm just excited to hear that you like to start with head. That's all. I think it's a very good it's a good place to start.
I mean, as an NSFW artist, of course I want to start with the head.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Great, because all of 2 people.
So head? Yes, always.
Yeah, That's where you start.
I will never deny head. No, I am not that meme. I'm not the no head meme.
Welcome in.
Yes, welcome in. We still have like a 35 seconds of the ad, so we're gonna wait a little bit just so that everybody can have a chance to learn.
I wish there was a way to disable ads. You know, you're doing like a teachy talky thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this is the platform we got. Bells of me, well, most measurements for the body is the head, at least for me. Yeah, that is true. Some lessons that I've had talked about how specific sizings of the body can help you if you use the size of the head. But then again, if the size of the head is off, then everything's going to be off, so it's a little bit...
We're back.
Yeah. We're back. So we're going to try and just explain it as simple as possible, hopefully. I don't know. Words don't work for me most of the time, so...
I think you do lovely.
So, this is a really over-exaggeration with this redlining, but you start with the head and then the position of the spine. So for this particular pose, the spine is slightly curved. When the spine is slightly curved like this, you can see that the hip line here is at an angle automatically. And again, if you don't have like a reference, you can always just move your own body to the pose that you're doing. Like a lot of animators will have a mirror just to look at their faces for facial expressions and how to get to a specific facial expression and stuff like that. So always like use yourself as a reference if you have nothing else. If you were to slightly curve your spine, I'm doing it right now myself, you guys better be doing it too. If you slightly curve your spine like this, your hip will automatically go upwards like this, which also means to balance out your body, especially if you're standing. Your the line of your shoulders is going to go in the opposite direction. So this side's going to go up. And that's just how the body works. It balances itself out. I don't know if that is helpful to anybody, if anybody didn't know that before, but you know, we're going over the basics. So that's the main idea of this pose. Even if the hip angle is slight, the shoulder will still tilt the opposite direction and kind of make like a angle like this, right?
We like our angles.
Yeah. So in doing the spine first, you know that the hips and the shoulders are going to be a certain way depending on how the spine curves. Obviously, this is a very simple-ish pose. It's a little bit of an angle. I wanted to have it as an example in that way. But if you do a more complex pose, things will change, but you just need to know how your body is going to move. So again, if you do it yourself, that helps you understand the pose a little bit better. After that, I feel like it's always good to have the circles for the shoulders because every joint should have a circle. I feel like that kind of just helps you understand where they should be. As you can see here, because this is up, the angle of the elbows are also mimicking the shoulders. So one elbow is going to be a little bit higher than the other one. An always good rule of thumb is that the shoulders will never be lower than the hip line.
The elbows?
The elbows.
The elbows.
The elbows should never be lower than the hip line. Sometimes it might be a little bit above the hip line, but usually the rule of thumb is never below the hip line. Okay. The only time it's below the hip line is if you have a pose like this where, you know, the hip is a little bit up and then this is a little bit down because of the shoulders. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
I would have never known it before you told me before. Like, it just wouldn't have registered correctly.
Yeah, so because the arms are attached to the shoulders, which are attached to this line here, right? Which is kind of signifying your collarbone. The arms and elbows, the elbows and hands, all the joints basically kind of mimic the lining of the shoulder line or collarbone line, whichever you guys feel is more accurate. So this also works for the hip area. Let's do another color here. So let's say the hip is green. Okay. For the hip area, because this is tilted, it changes how the legs are going to work since the legs are attached to the hip. Okay. So because this pose, they're standing, it's kind of hard to see. I didn't draw it very well here, but you can see here in the finished drawing, quote unquote, it's not really finished, but there's a little bit of an angle here. It's very slight. Because they're standing, it's a little bit difficult to judge. If the feet are on the same plane, it's going to be less noticeable. So in the same like area here, they're kind of aligned. If one leg is more behind the character, then that's going to exaggerate this angle a little bit. But again, it is mimicking the angle of the hip.
Excellent.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I feel like I lost myself there a little bit.
Yeah. You got your two sets of joints. So the shoulder and the elbows should be in the same line, and the hips and the knees should be in the same line.
This becomes a little bit more complicated if the feet are not flat, okay? You see both these feet are flat, so that kind of just makes this a little bit less exaggerated. If you have one foot that is like on a tippy toe, that's gonna make this, let's say this one is tippy toeing. It's not tippy toeing in this example, but let's say it's on its tippy toes. That means that everything's gonna shift upwards, because now there's more space from the tip of the toe. And then let's say it's tippy toeing. You have the tip of the toe here. Tip of the toe. Then everything kind of goes up a bit, right? So now this is higher than that foot.
Here, let me move you over.
Ah.
That's best.
Boop, 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 boop.
There you go.
I could do it on the other one, actually.
No, that's fine.
Move me back. I look awkward.
Be back.
You ruined everything.
I did ruin it. Better?
Yeah.
More. Okay.
No, it's fine. Okay, so what I was saying is if you move this to being tippy toes, it's a really bad drawing. But now this ankle is much higher than this ankle, which means that everything's going to shift upwards. So if you want it to be in the same pose, everything, let's say this is the size of your line, okay? Okay. That's the same length as what I originally drew, but because everything's being shifted upward, this is the same length as that. Let's do it as an example like this. So now because this has moved up, you can't just move it up like that. It doesn't work because
Bones.
everything's going to shift upwards in that way. So it'll kind of more go on an angle, right? Because now it's on a tippy toe. Nothing else has changed in the body position, but that's on a tippy toe.
The shins and thighs should be almost the same length. Pretty much the same length.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the person that you're drawing. Everybody has different lengths and stuff, but they're relatively all around the same. for everybody. Obviously, there's, you know, it's not all exact.
Mm-hmm.
So you see it's the same length, but because the tippy toe, it went up a little bit, so the knee will go up and bend a little bit. So now the leg would look more so like that if you're trying to keep everything in the same position. So that's kind of like how bodies work, right? As far as proportions go, some of my tips to remember. Let's do another one here. Usually, you can fit 2 heads side by side to make the length of the shoulder. So there should be 2 heads that fit of the same size. That should be the length of your shoulder.
That's pretty circles.
Not really.
Comparatively, the marvelous.
Okay. Again, the length of the arm here and the elbow, it should be around either right where the hip line is or like a little bit below the middle. That's where they should be hitting. The ends of the hands should never go past mid-thigh. Going a little bit past because it's a bit curved, as you can see. Like, this is going to go down a bit more, so that's fine. But if she was standing straight, it would be like mid-thigh area. That's always a good judgment for the length of an arm. So in knowing where the arm ends, that kind of helps you judge how long your legs should be. So you know that if the arm is this long and it hits the middle of the leg, that it should be like almost exactly the same in length for before it hits the knee. And then the calf, it really depends on the person and the character, but usually around the same size as the upper part of the leg where your thigh is. If you were to bend your leg and kind of sit on it, you would see that your ankle kind of hits close to the joint of your hip. So that kind of signifies that they're about the same size. Obviously, it doesn't have to be exact, but if you have it somewhat close, then it's going to make your character look a little bit more proportionate. Are we all good? I hope I'm making sense. Is there any questions so far? Think so?
Don't think so.
I don't think so.
We
Not
determine
yet.
the size of the torso.
Making sense to me. That's good. Well, your question, size of the torso?
Yeah.
Size of the torso is about the same as the length of the shoulders, right? Minus the shoulder. But the shoulder usually is not that big. It depends on the type of character. If they're like really buff, then it's going to be bigger.
Done mostly as a square.
Yeah. For this type of skeleton, it's kind of just a square. I like to do the middle line because it kind of helps you understand that it's a little bit more 3D, especially if you're curving it the right way. But the middle line kind of just helps with where the breasts or chesticles are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
As far as hips, I like to keep it within a triangle shape. Because the actual shape of a hip is kind of like this, right? That's like the actual bone shape. So that would be kind of like this part here, right? Looks so wrong. But I like to make it a triangle because then it helps you with where the like crotch area is supposed to be. It helps me know where to put the junk. Mm-hmm. If you're an NSFW artist, you understand why.
It's kind of important for that. Yeah.
So as far as the simple structure goes, I think it kind of speaks for itself a little bit. I don't know if anybody has questions about the shapes that are chosen here. If there isn't any questions, then I'm going to try and explain like the more complicated skeletal structure. Because I feel like this is great, but if you want to put the extra effort doing the skeletal structure a little bit more 3D, really helps you with the actual like filling out the form to give it shape for the final, quote unquote, final product.
I know that started to help a little bit more whenever I was starting to do that.
Yeah, because when Fox started, I showed him how to do this skeletal structure, and it worked because it's more simple. It's a little bit less complicated to grasp. But then when I started showing him the complicated structure, it really did help him understand shading and rendering later on as well. The reason is because if it's a little bit more 3D, then you can kind of understand how the shape is round, how light might hit it later on, things like that. So we'll get into the more complicated structure, I think, now. You don't have any questions, my love?
No, I think we're good on the basic one.
Yeah?
Hands can kiss my butt.
Yeah, we'll get into the hands, feet, and face in a little bit. I definitely want to dedicate entire streams to them, but for now we're just doing like a quick overview of the skeletal structure, so I'll explain it a little bit in shapes and stuff, but for actual like posing and how things affect the hands, feet, and face, we will get into it in another stream, because I feel like they need more time to be explained.
It ends up feeling so really very complicated on them.
Yeah, they are a lot more complicated, and most artists will complain about those things. Like, I really want to do a session on the head structure, facial placements, and tricks.
Tryptophobia.
Tricks on how to place your face, where things should be placed for it to look like it makes sense. And I feel like it can also be put into different styles, because, I mean, as you can see, like my character that I have right now, my model, is a different, more simpler style from what I usually draw. So it can work for different types of styles. I still use the same rules for the different styles that I use. So
you do have like 4 or 5 styles at this point.
I don't know.
No.
So the more complicated skeletal structure, again, will help you figure out the form of the body a lot better. Of course, you can always play around with it and exaggerate some of these shapes to have different body types. So this one's more of like a fit body type, but if you want to do more like a curvaceous body type and stuff, you can totally over exaggerate these shapes. Maybe I will dedicate a portion of a stream to showing how to do different body shapes and stuff like that. But for now, this is where we're at. So here you can see that the basics of this is still here. You still have the shoulder line, the middle line, the head. You still have the hip line. It's a different shape, but it's still there. You still have the middle line, the circles for the joints, right? These are still part of this structure. It's just elevated a little bit more complex in shape, but it's still kind of the same idea, the same base. So what you could do is start off with this one and then move it to a little bit more complicated, and then develop from this one.
I think that's more likely what I'll start doing.
Yeah, a lot of artists do that. They'll start with this just to get the pose idea down. They'll start doing the complex shapes, and then that kind of helps them see if they need to edit the pose in any way, because once you start giving things a little bit more volume, you start realizing, oh, well, that leg's a bit off, and then you can like fix it up and stuff. So that's the idea to having it a little bit more complicated. If we're separating the shapes, here it's more in the shape of what a rib cage actually looks like. rib cages are in that kind of shape, right? It's a really bad drawing of of a rib cage, but it's in that similar type of form. This can help for when you're rendering or doing the actual drawing or sketch of the finished product. As you can see here, these points are kind of here, and it helps with the curvature of the body. Okay, it helps you know where the dip will start to go in.
The bottom of the rib cage showing.
Yeah. As you can see, that's how it helps with that, I feel. Knowing that the bottom of the rib cage is there and in that shape, it really helps with the form of the character in later stages. So we have the rib cage, like that. And then the hips are also rounded because that's what it looks like. Like I mentioned, hips kind of have this look in a skeletal structure. Again, these points help you here, right? So it helps you with the overall shape and where the highest point of the body is. If you want them to be, to have a fitted form like this where the waist goes in, it helps you show that. But it can also help you if you're doing like a more curvaceous body as well, because skin and fat will sit on the body differently depending on where the bone structure is. So it's just helpful to know in any case. Again, I like doing the little V here because it helps me know where like the pubic bone area is. It just helps with that shape personally. I know a lot of artists like to do it in this shape as well. Next, I added the circles here because it kind of just helps to know that it's not empty. It's not just a stick form, so then when you have the bone structure there and then you just go in like this because there's nothing left. If that's your style, go ahead. But right now we're kind of trying to remember that it's a person and it has organs and stuff inside. So
organs.
You don't want it to be like hourglass, over exaggerated, and forget that there's supposed to be stuff in there. That's what I use it for. Maybe other artists put it there for a different reason. Another reason to put it there is if it's a circle, then it kind of acts like a joint in itself. So in the center of your body, that's usually like when you bend side to side, it usually is like stagnant here. It will never like separate or slide around in weird places. It'll stay in the center, but it will be able to bend and roll on the sphere, if that makes sense. If you're thinking about it like a joint.
Yeah, using the circles to symbolize all the joints.
Yeah. So let's just do all the joints here in the green color. This just helps you know that they can bend, and I don't know, it's like a good representation of movement, I think, to remember, okay, the circles are joints, they can bend, but they cannot, you're gonna break the body if you decide, oh, I'm just gonna, yeah, it bends here, but I'm gonna draw the arm this way. But it's still connected to the joint, right? No, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The arm is broken if you do that. Which is why you have the line there. To remind you that it's supposed to be connected in that sense.
That's supposed to be the point that it connects to the joint.
Yeah, exactly. Then we got the cylinders. Oh, right. The joint in the hip here. It also helps to remember that it can move around like that, you know? But it has to still be connected in the center. Okay. Next, the cylinder shapes, I feel like it helps a lot for the arms and legs specifically.
Yeah, I just barely started messing with that.
Yeah.
Getting those back.
Yeah, so I'm going to do it on a new layer so it's not going to get too complicated. Here you have a cylinder, right? If I do it on this side, you're going to see like that shape. This helps you for body shapes in general. As you can see here,
Go scan.
it's there. It helps you see the shape of the body a little bit more in 3D, but also if you understand that it's more of like a cylinder shape, it's going to help you with shading and rendering later on in the coloring phases of your artwork. So if you see it as a 3D object, you know that the highest point here is going to have the light, and then it's going to start to shade on the sides. So that kind of helps. That's if it's like direct lighting. Obviously, this changes if you know simple shapes and how to shade them. We will get into it eventually if you guys want me to, for when we explain how to shade and render things. We could start with simple shapes if you guys want to, and then we can like apply that to humanoid forms.
Apple. I drew a lot of apples at the beginning. A lot of apples.
Yeah, so drawing things in shapes like this and understanding why the shapes are there, it really does help with the rendering process later on. But yeah. Knowing this, it will help with lighting later on. If you have the lighting coming in from this side, you know, just to go over it quickly, that means this side's gonna have the highlight, and then it's gonna slowly get darker and darker because it's round. Right? So, it just helps with that, I feel like.
It's a shape.
So you have the cylinder here. When it goes from the calf to the ankle, I feel like the cylinder shape is a little bit different. It's always tapered. Kind of goes inwards a little bit. So that's that shape for the calf part of the leg. Here it's about the same thing. So you have like kind of a regular cylinder shape for the top part of the arm. And then for the bottom part of the arm, it's also tapered, going inward like this. Because it's going to the wrist, and the wrist is supposed to be smaller than the elbow, and the elbow is supposed to be smaller than the shoulder.
It looks like the head is about the same size as each segment of the arm. Is it like a rough reference?
Yeah, that is a good reference. A lot of people like to take the shape of the head. Oops, the size of the head. Let's use it as an example here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I feel like the best one that I learned for how big the head should be is that it will fit on either side of the shoulder.
That's really helped on my shoulder sizes.
Yeah, and that kind of just helps with the overall application to the sizes and proportions of the body. But if you bring it down to the foot, you can see...
Beheaded.
Let's start it at the joint. It's not really the same size. So I don't think it can be applied that way. I think the head sizing is like for the overall body. I think it's like 6 heads or something like that. We can do it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6.
Yeah.
I think that was the rule. I learned it so long ago. The only one that stuck for me was for the shoulders. I feel like that's the head rule that made sense to me and stuck.
Gotcha.
But I think it is 6 heads for the entire body, including the head. So 5 heads for the body. I think that's the rule. Yeah, I think that's about everything for the body shapes, like the different shapes that you use. Again, it's more like boxes, circles, and cylinders. Hi, Connie. Hoping you're having a fantabulous day. Yeah.
Going pretty good.
My brain's hurting from trying to break things down, but we're getting there.
It's a good kind of breaking today.
No. So yeah, I think that's that for the more complicated skeleton. Again, it's not like incredibly complicated, but it's a step up from the first type of skeleton that you can use. Again, some people are just confident with this type of skeleton and just start shaping, just start forming the body from this, you know, because they know what it's supposed to look like. You know? Some people do it this way, but I feel like it's just better to go from this, try and do the shapes, and then work up from there to do your line art and stuff. Because again, forgetting what the shapes are supposed to look like can make the body look a little bit disproportionate, even if the skeletal structure is correct. So again, if I were to do the cylinder here... It's okay, I'm kind of just re-explaining.
Yeah.
If I do the cylinder here and I taper it, it already looks better because I understand that the shapes are supposed to look like that. Whereas before, when you saw me do it really quickly, it looked a little bit janky. Also, it helps. Oh yeah, it does help too, like when you're doing foreshortening and stuff like that, to do it kind of in a simple 3D shape. Because when the joint is bending, so if we're over exaggerating it a little bit, you're gonna see that's here. You know that the joint is there, and then I should do it in a different color. The joint is here, and then the second part of the leg is gonna be there tapering. So you know that this part is foreshortened because you have the cylinder like that. Does that make sense? Can you guys see what I'm talking about? It makes sense in my head, but I don't know if it makes sense in everybody's head.
For like whenever the whenever like the it's bending, so it's coming at.
Yeah,
you
so
still tilt the shape.
Yeah, so it's like the same thing of this leg, except the knee is going upwards. So now this cylinder is gonna be shorter, right? And we're gonna see more of this flat surface where the joint opening happens. Then you have the ball joint there, which is the knee. And then on top of that, you're gonna see the tapered off part of the leg. And depending on the angle, like this part of the leg will still be the same size and length, because this type of bending is kind of more like a frontal view bending. If we were bending it more to the other side, it would shift a little bit more. So let's say she's doing like a real bend like that, you know? So now the cylinder is going to look more like this. Then you have the ball joint, right? And then the other part of the leg going down. It's being cut off because I have no room, but whatever. Does that make sense?
So then you know, regardless of the direction it's going, the rough shape that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, if you know the rough shape, it just helps with foreshortening in the long run, I find. I hope it makes sense.
I think so.
Okay. As that makes sense, then I'm gonna go over the like hands and feet shapes. But again, I'm not gonna dedicate the entire stream to it. It's just to give an idea of it, and maybe I'll have an entire stream just on hands and feet.
I am not looking forward to practicing that.
I'm going to torture you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hands and feet.
Good song.
So for hands, I would say the best shape that you can go for is somewhat of a rectangle for the main part of the hand. You can do a little circle for the wrist. And then you need to remember that there's knuckles.
Save, you fool!
What am I saving?
Your progress. I'm
getting abused!
Goodbye, Connie.
Distracting me. So you're gonna have 4 knuckles that have to fit. Then It's good to have the lining of where the next two joints are going to be.
Oh god. Alright.
Voice of the frog. I can't do the voice of the frog. That's going to be all on Fox.
That is definitely all me.
Also here you have a circle for the thumb. These two blue lines, it kind of just helps with the next knuckles.
We can't get drinkies though.
You have 4 knuckles here, and then the fingertips. Depending on the type of hands that you're drawing, this is not proportionate at all. This is such a bad example. I'm getting distracted.
Distracted with all the redeems. I blame Connie.
It looks so bad. This is not gonna help anybody. Oh no. What do I do? I'm gonna start over.
Get a drink, refocus.
How did I explain this to you?
I think we went with the square and then the 2 rectangles and then divided up the rectangles.
What?
The square and then the rectangle here.
No, it's a rectangle. It always has to be a rectangle.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it like this, okay? Really shit.
Oh,
You're gonna have this as the curvature of the fingers, because if you look at your hand, I mean, it's different for everybody, but if we're going with basics, usually your fingers are not all at the same length. They don't all stop at the same spot. So if you go with a curved kind of idea, that helps for that. Here you have a thumb idea. 2, 3, 4 knuckles. 1, 2, 3, 4 joints following that curve that you did, and then the fingertips like that.
hey, Ronan, welcome in.
Hello, hello.
You've caught me in the middle of a Kermit redeem, so you know, it's good to hear you. Thanks for the first time chat.
You're getting too distracted with all these redeems. How am I supposed to teach in these conditions?
Look, it's just like a regular classroom. You got the class clown who's screwing around in the background. Got the one kid that's making a lot of noise by throwing things all over the place, in this case, teeth. You're trying to instruct. You got one student that's diligently taking notes. The other people are probably just asleep, because that's just what happens whenever you're in school.
Oh god. So I don't know if that makes sense to people. It's really shit. But that's kind of the basic structure of how hands should be done. You can put this into more of a 3D shape by having it the base like this, right?
Man, nap time, Connie.
So making the rectangle into a 3D shape can help you with different poses for hands. So if you make it a 3D shape like this, then you know, okay, the knuckles are here, you know, the thumb's here, and then that kind of just helps you with the way the hand's supposed to look, right? I don't know if any of this is making sense.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. When I look at my hand, my pinky ends at my ring finger.
Yeah.
Secret tunnel.
When you mention
Secret, 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 secret tunnel. Yeah. Right.
So yeah, I don't know if this helps with hands. Of course, I'm gonna do a dedicated stream to hands and feet where I'm a little bit more prepared for it. But that's the basic shapes for the hands. The basic shapes for feet is you have your ankle, you have the heel, you have a rectangle square shape, and then the end part where the toes are.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at where your joints are, the joints bend here and then here.
Jem tends to just stream on here with me usually. Yeah. In the title of the stream, it does have their Twitch, but it never gets used.
Yeah, I don't stream on my own at all. I stream with Fox solely.
Yeah.
Following my Twitch, it doesn't do nothing. I'd rather all of the views and follows and stuff happen on here if you want to support.
It's really a joint account at this point. Same with our YouTube and everything too, so.
Yeah. If you want to support other ways, like I do have a Ko-Fi. It is under my name, but it's for both Fox and I. We kind of just share everything when it comes to that, because married life equals money is both of our money, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not all the time, but you know,
I think
it works out that way for us. Also, I do commission work and stuff like that for art. I am mostly hired for NSFW art, but I do also do safe for work stuff. And I think eventually we're gonna have a little slot on my VGen for commission work from Fox, actually. So
hopefully by the end of the month I'll be all right with it. I'll do like one YCH or something.
Yeah, I think we're gonna start him with one YCH pose and see how that goes. I thought it would be fun practice for him, one, and also encouraging if people support him financially during his art journey, but also like maybe a cheaper option on the VGen in general. Not drawn by me, obviously, drawn by him. We're gonna make that clear on the VGen since it's gonna be on my VGen.
Educated by you.
We were thinking about whether or not to make an entire VGen on him, but for him, but he's the one running my VGen since it gives me a lot of anxiety, and I'd rather just work on the artwork and focus on that. So he's kind of like my manager when it comes to any of the online stuff.
I'm the manager.
So we thought having two different separate VGens for this would be a little bit too much for him to handle, so we're gonna just put a little section for him on my VGen. Yeah. That goes for everybody. Don't follow my Twitch. I don't do nothing on there. I'm only here. I live in the walls.
We really could just change the name of the channel, I suppose. Eventually.
Yeah, when we did the debut, I mentioned maybe we should change the name so that it was more obvious that this is both our channel. But, I don't know. Fox didn't want to change it. I guess it's complicated.
That's just been that way for 3.5 years or so. I don't know. We can change it. We can look at it.
Yeah, we could. Also, Fox is bugging out a little bit right now, and that's because he's currently using my computer for the model, and my camera. My camera's not good, so...
It's not the greatest of cameras. It's alright.
Yeah, usually I'm the one that's glitching out, but... following you anyways. No, it's really a waste of time and a waste for you to have me as somebody you're following. Nothing will happen on that channel.
At some point, I'm going to just make it go live just to freak people out and then shut off immediately.
Just name it titties, question mark?
Yeah, something like that. Calm me on VGen is what the title will be, and then it'll blast everybody.
Yeah, I guess.
A weekly advertisement.
That's silly. Okay, so back to feet. So if this helps anybody, you have your foot here, right? And then you have your toes. And then the ankle's kind of up here, and then it goes up to the leg.
I still can't do them at all. Like, they just cut them off the bottom, put them behind someone's butt. Don't put them on the screen.
I mean, you can do that. A lot of artists do that. Even I am guilty of doing that sometimes because I just don't want to deal with it. But yeah, that's the basic shapes for hands and feet.
Okay, so back to feet.
Okay, so back to feet.
The viewership just doubled.
Can you imagine?
No.
That'd be pretty funny. So this is hands and feet. I hope that makes sense. If we go to...
Oh, the hand should be the size of the face. Remember that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is a trick that I have of mine. The size of a hand should be, when stretched out, should be the size of the face. So I don't know if that's going to help anybody, but apparently when I said that to Fox, it changed his life.
No, that made more sense. Stop the tiny little mouth-sized hands or the gorilla hands.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with the sizing of hands, and either they look way too small, It's usually way too small. I think people are scared of drawing hands bigger.
I know.
But if you want, you can just draw the hands the way you normally do and then just use the resize tool and put it over the face, see if it fits the face. If it does, then you're good.
Yeah.
Uh,
One of my friends specifically has a foot model because they like feet. Well, to each their own.
well, yeah, to each their own.
Our friend Angel is apparently really good at drawing feet, but they do not care for them.
Was that it for hands and feet, you think?
I think so. But we'll do more detail on it, I think, later. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to dedicate a stream to just that because it's pretty complicated.
What if we're doing yaoi hands?
Yaoi hands? Oh, well. I feel like a lot of manga that are of that topic, they do not listen to any of these rules for for body proportions. So I think they just bend the rules and people accept it because it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
But
that goes for genitalia and chests as well. They don't seem to follow any of the rules.
yeah.
Yeah.
Though, to be honest, I feel like they would be way hotter if they looked like actual humans, you know? In my opinion.
One time it's fine to have tiny hands.
You know, I don't know. It would be like, oh, that's fun. That's different. Okay, so for face, I'm gonna dedicate an entire stream for head, where the lines should be. Yeah, you can take that sentence as you wish. And where the placement is for eyes, nose, mouth, ears. But we'll go over it really quickly since it is part of the skeletal structure here. So let me make a new layer. You have the circle part, which is the head here. Okay. This kind of helps you have an idea of what the, like, skull is. So if you draw a skeleton, you have the circle here. Let's say this part is the face. You have the jawline that goes up into the base of the skull. This is a really shitty rendition of it, but
Brains.
you have a little happy skeleton
Look how
skull head
recognizable
here.
that is. Amazing.
But this circle and this circle represents that circle. So it helps you when you're moving the head around and doing different face angles, which when we dedicate an entire stream to face, I will go over each angle.
I'm gonna get so yelled at because I hate drawing that stupid circle.
Yeah. You never do it the right size either.
I don't.
Feel.
It's always so far off.
Which is fine. You don't have to be perfect at it, but it just really helps with the base of the face. It's just pretty important for that. So having that circle, right now it's a frontal view, so it doesn't seem like it's that important. But when you start rotating the face in different angles, it's very important to help you know where the neck is supposed to come from and the overall shape of the head. That way you don't have like weird alien shaped heads unless that is your thing or that is the character you're drawing, you know? But if we're going for basic humanoid shapes, it's very, very important. If you have different art styles where that's not the head shape that you want, at least knowing the basic will help you play around with those proportions, and it'll still look like it makes sense if it's in the right place. So that's what that is. So if you draw that, this circle, it's gonna help you with the rest. Now we're looking at the middle face line. You're gonna draw that next. And then this helps you with where the bottom part of the face is, the side face and the jawline and chin. I'm gonna do it really crudely right now since we're trying to go as fast as we can.
Like a helmet almost. It's the old bucket helmet look.
Yeah, a little bit. So that kind of helps you with that. That's what that is here. Okay. Then
They can make a lot of really fat cheeks. Not booty, but face cheeks.
So then if we go to the lines here in this section, that's the eye lines. You want to do 3 lines usually. And
It's a new follower.
we got a new follower? Who is it? I can't see. Where?
The purple.
Kilana Ann. Kilana Ann. Thank you.
Kilana.
Thank you for the follow.
Hello, hello. Thank you for
Welcome
the first chat.
in. Thank you. I get so distracted by all the noises. It's
The
crazy.
new sounds. Yeah.
Okay, so as you can see here for the simple basic skeletal structure, which is more than enough for some people, but again, I do recommend, especially if you're beginning, to try and force yourself to do the more complicated structure because it's going to help you a lot when you're going into details and stuff. But for the basic structure, it's just 2 lines, which is totally fine. Some people are totally fine with that. That's the worst 2 lines. It was actually 3 lines, but anyways. Doing 2 lines, some people are totally fine with this for the eye placement. But, you know, I feel like doing the 3-line thing, it just helps with where the corners of the eyes are supposed to be, like the center part of the eyes. So that's very important, in my opinion, especially for beginners. It just really helps where the placement's supposed to be in the face. Then, if you see here, I have these lines here. I do have it go in and then down. Doing it like this, it just signifies that the face isn't flat. It kind of just helps you understand that it is 3D, and when you start rotating the face in different angles, it's gonna help you to know, okay, that's like the back of the head, this is where the face is, and where these lines here signify where the center of the eye is and where the corners of the mouth is supposed to be. Okay.
The corner of the mouth thing was really helpful.
Yeah.
It never registered just looking at a face that's directly below the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. It's where the middle of your eye is.
Boogie Demi.
Again, these can be exaggerated however you want. But in doing so, it's going to add different effects to the way the character looks. So for Fox, I tend to bring it out a little bit more than the middle part of the eye, because he has like a really creepy smile and that's his character. If you want them to look a little bit more cute and pursed, then you put it a little bit smaller in the face. Kind of like how I have it. I have it like just before the center of the eye line for my model, as an example. But if you're doing a regular schmegular face, then having the mouth, let's do a different color.
I don't think we did the Joker smile in this one. I think it's just the old model. I used to have the toggle where it would just go ridiculous, like a zipper mouth. You know?
Oh, but it can go pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not registering you right now. There you go. So if you're doing the mouth, as you can see here on the model, you can kind of see that the corners of the mouth go to that line. And another point is that the corner of the jawline is also where the mouth is supposed to be placed on the face. If that makes sense. So where the jawline starts to curve here, it could be pointy for like a more masculine jawline or different art styles. Of course, it changes. But here it's a little bit smoother. But where it starts to curve, that's where the mouth line goes. Does that make sense? The nose line is always kind of like in the middle of where the mouth line is and where the bottom eye line is. If that makes sense. That's where the nose should start, at least. Also changes for different people because people have different noses and stuff like that, but it's a general rule of thumb. Also, if we go much further into all of these basics, eventually when I do faces and stuff, I'm going to go into great lengths, but usually you have your eyeball. You see it's placed where the line is in the middle of the eyeball.
I have to zoom in a little bit.
I think people can see it okay. The eyeball is like where the green line meets it, like in the center of it. You can also fit the same size of the eyeball in the center of the face.
You can have 3 eyes on your face.
Yeah, that's the general rule of thumb. Obviously, different art styles. Some people have really large eyes, like my model has huge eyes, and I did not follow that rule. But if you want to try and make it a little bit more proportionate, that's a good way of knowing where the eyes are supposed to be. So when you're drawing an eyeball like this, let's say, okay, this should be able to fit 3 times in the face. Make sense? So starting from that corner to that corner, you should be able to fit 3 eyeballs. What?
3 balls in your face.
Well, Fox is clearly not paying attention to class, and
I heard.
soon he's gonna have to try and recreate what we learned.
I remember things. Something chin, and 3 balls, and the hip tilts like a V. Cylinders.
Oh boy, we're gonna be in for a treat, I think. So yeah, that's the basics of the lines that I have here for the face, for the more complicated face structure anyways. Another good rule of thumb for ears is that the ear will start at the, let's do another color. We'll start at the middle eye line and end where the start of the jaw point is, the jawline. So that's always a good rule of thumb for the size of your ears.
Wait till you see me draw ears. I'm going to get yelled at immediately.
Yeah, he keeps trying to do loby ears, which is fine, but I know that that's not the style he's going for. So.
Right. It's just the natural way I draw them immediately.
Yeah.
It's not an elf ear.
Yeah. So if you are drawing elf ears or whatever, it's still the same idea. It will always start where the middle eye line is, and then end where the jaw line or mouth line is. Is everybody on the same page? Any questions so far? Oh, my tail's going crazy.
It's going everywhere. Everywhere. I have my physics turned down a little bit because it was going crazy.
Yeah. My webcam camera doesn't pick up facial structures and stuff very well, so.
Oh.
Y'all are all good?
All good.
All good?
Good though.
Okay.
Do.
So if we're done with the femme, we can go over the same stuff, but for more masculine body types. I'm not gonna go into like extreme detail like I just did because again, it's still the same stuff, just proportions are the same, the shapes are pretty much the same. It's just exaggerated in different ways to make the body look like a different body type.
Looks like the abdomen area is wider.
Yeah, so if you look, like these balls are a little bit smaller, things are a little bit more petite, but if you change the size of certain things, you get different results for the body type. And this can go for any gender, any type of character. If you want to make them look a little bit more heavy set or chubby, it's the same thing. It's still the same skeletal structure idea, just certain things altered to give a different effect for the body type and body size.
We all basically have the same bones.
I also did, like, it's still somewhat straight pose, but a little bit, it's not a T pose, let's just say that. So it just gives you a little bit of an idea of how things change with a different type of pose. I need a drink.
Blink.
My throat is dry. It's never a good thing.
Work.
So, same idea for the simple skeletal structure and the more complex skeletal structure. Still exactly the same as what we just went through. The only difference is, well, the pose, slightly different. And this is more for a masculine body type. A little bit more muscular, a little thicker. So, if you can see here, you have the head. It's pretty straight, the line for the spine. Okay. Which means that the shoulders and the hip line should be rather straight and parallel. Okay. This also means that the arms are pretty parallel. The joints of the arms are pretty parallel, and the hand placement's pretty parallel. Again, the end of the hand is about mid-thigh. Right? This also means that the knees are about parallel, and the joints for the feet are somewhat parallel as well. Does that make sense?
It's only goofy because he's got one foot behind the other.
Yeah, it's only different because one foot's behind the other, and also he's on his tippy toes.
Like a ballerina.
A little bit, yeah, like a dancer. So, if this makes sense to you guys, we'll continue. But again, if the spine is relatively straight, then all of the joint placements are straight. The moment the spine starts to curve a certain way, that's when the lines start to get all wonky and funky.
Generally, whichever direction it curves, like makes the C shape, is the thinner. It's going to be the point that the angles go together.
Yeah. So, again, if you're unsure, try and recreate the C that you're drawing for the spine, and you'll see how your hip will go up and then your shoulder will go down, so that it kind of makes like an acute triangle.
It's so cute.
If I could blush, I would.
Blushy.
Okay, so that's that for that. As you can see, because I wanted a more muscular body type, the shoulders are quite large. The shoulder joint. I made it large because I wanted to recreate larger muscles. Most of the time, people who are muscular have larger shoulders, or they're more prominent at least. But again, the rule of the shoulder being bigger than the elbow, and then the elbow being bigger than the wrist joints still applies. Okay, so just because you changed one, it does change the others, but they're still going to be in that order. The elbow smaller, and then the wrist smaller.
Scheme.
A little bit. Because the arm, especially if the shoulders are wide, it will still taper down throughout the arm, right?
Yeah. The bigger muscles have to support the smaller muscles.
Yeah. And again, I recommend looking at muscle structures and muscle anatomy, like books and stuff like that, because then that's going to help you with, like, biceps, triceps, and those shapes. I have not included those in here at all because it makes the skeletal structure a lot more complicated, and I feel like keeping it as simple as possible is better for beginners. If you want to start doing muscular stuff, again, look at it in a book, but usually, you'll have like the bicep here, tricep here, so then that changes the shape of where you want things to go in the arm. Of course, it can be over exaggerated however you want, but it will start looking uncanny valley if you exaggerate things a little too much, so just keep that in mind.
Superhero physiques.
Oh, some people like to go even further than that, which is totally fine. But it will look a little uncanny valley because it's not like humanly possible in some cases. So, so there's that. What else is different? So, like you said, for the complicated skeletal structure, these balls here are a lot larger than they were for a more thinner physique. That just means that they're probably less, what's the word I'm looking for? Bendable. Less.
Peter Steele.
No, what's the word I'm looking for?
Agile?
No.
Able to bend?
Yeah, that, but the word for it.
Articulated. Less articulated.
No. Flexible. That's the word I'm looking for. If you imagine like a larger structure versus a smaller structure of a cylinder, the larger cylinder that is heavier won't be able to roll as much, and the smaller cylinder that is lighter will be able to roll better and farther. So it kind of means that like he would not be able to do like crazy acrobatic stuff. He could, but it's not going to be as much as a smaller, thinner physique would. I feel like a lot of there's some people that like to put poses pretty extreme, and if it's a body type that's like a lot more muscular and thicker, and then they put them in these positions, they forget about anatomy, so the skin doesn't sit right or the muscles don't feel like they're placed right, so then it just looks a little bit awkward. So making these thicker, it just helps you know that, okay, it's not going to taper in like this, you know. Having a waist like this, it's possible. Some people can say that it's possible because some people, you know, some masculine structures like this do wear corsets and waist train and stuff.
Yeah.
But if we're going with like normal situations, having a waist this thin would make it feel like it's very top heavy and not possible, and it would just make the proportions feel like it's off. Even if it is possible, in artwork, I feel like it just makes the proportions look like they're off. And some people might not even understand it because they might not have the knowledge of like anatomy and stuff like that, which, you know, it's not what people usually do.
Feels out of the ordinary if you're pushing past.
Yeah, if you start pushing things back, like past the limit of the body type that you're drawing, then sometimes it just feels off, and some people can't even explain why. But usually it's because the artist is not thinking about the actual body structure and what is humanly possible. So, anyways, so that's a little bit thicker. Also, if you want to make them look a little bit more buffer, you want to make everything else a little bit thicker and larger. So the cylinders here are larger in width. Same thing goes for here, but it still will taper in to fit where the wrist is. Same thing goes for the thighs. They are wider. Same thing for the calf portion. It is wider here, but it still tapers in to fit where the joint is for the foot. But in just increasing the width of these cylinders, it helps you create a body form that is larger and thicker.
Got it.
Yeah. As you can see, the shape of the face is still exactly the same idea with all the lines here to help you lay out the placement of where the face is supposed to be. The facial features are supposed to be. I think my brain's slowly dying.
Slow decay.
I swear I don't know what's happening right now. I'm lost. I don't know what else to go over in this case. I feel like for masculine chests, that the line is not really in the center of the square. You know how in the other one it was more in the center?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for more masculine, the line is a little bit lower because they have bigger surface area usually. I do a center line usually instead of the line being like around here for a more masculine chest. For a more feminine chest, I have it in the center because the breast usually will fill up the space.
It starts there.
Yeah, and I want the line to be in the center because usually, depending, if you want perky boobs anyways, the nipples will be like where the center line is, rather than it being more towards the bottom, where the nipple would be. I'm not allowed to show nipples on stream, but I'm doing it really quick so you guys can understand why. But yeah, that's the idea of where the line placement is for a more masculine chest and a more feminine chest. I feel like having the line there helps for nipple placement mostly.
It has helped to know where to start the breasts on the middle line there. So.
Yeah, so as an example, if you want like more of a saggy breast look, which is totally natural, okay? Not every person has to have perky boobs. The idea of the middle line is still a good thing to have. Okay, if we go back to the more femme looking. So you see here, I did the perky boob thing.
They're bound.
Start over. So I did the it's still kind of like a center line. It's a little bit curved because of the way the body is positioned. So this part's, you know, facing towards us a little bit, and then this part's kind of facing away because the shoulders are back a little bit. So that's the reason why it's curved that way. But it's somewhat in the center of the chest, and that's why I tend to draw perkier boobs, so that's why they're positioned that way. If you want to do a more natural boob look, this line is still good. The only thing is that you're adding a new shape to the form. So let's do cylinders. If you want the boobs to be cylinders, let's do spheres. That's what I meant to say. Let's say you want the boobs to be a little bit lower and to sag more. You're still going to do the cylinder look because boobs tend to be a little bit rounder anyways, even if they're saggy. I mean, there's different shape boobs. You can do like banana shape or whatever. But just for this case, the line will still start where it's supposed to be.
The skin still connects there regardless.
Yeah, the skin still connects there. So as you can see, they're a bit lower. So if we put it on the model here, you can start with the circles being a little bit lower. So now they're a little bit more of like a saggy kind of boob. For nipple placement, you have to think about the shape of the boob. So the boob is a cylinder. Right. You think about it like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's cylinder, okay? But now that it's gone down and it's pointing down a little bit, instead of it being in the center line, it's going to be more on the last line here. So you can do a line like this to help you find where the nipples are supposed to be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Did I explain that okay?
Yeah.
Anyways,
it shifts because of the way the cylinders go.
Yeah, I'm gonna hide that for now because it's not allowed, okay? Shush. Nobody say anything. Yeah. So that's the idea of like the middle line part up for the chest section. It's usually for like nipple placement or breast placement. I don't think I have anything else really to say for the masculine aspect to the skeletal structure. Again, it doesn't have to be masc or femme or whatever. It's just to give an idea of like how you can push the forms to make a different body shape.
Mr. Satan-san, hello!
Oh, art studies, interesting. Hello!
Mr. Satan-san is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Is this the first time that you've met my lovely spouse?
Wishing you lots of strength for learning. Thank you. That's very sweet. Ah! We're both amazing, apparently.
No, you're so delightful.
I don't know if we've ever, like, talked to each other, but I'm pretty sure we follow each other. Yeah, so I think that's about it for the skeletal structures. if you guys have any questions, please put them in now. And it should be questions about what we just talked about today. And if you have any extra questions at the beginning of the next stream, we can totally go through those questions if you try to put any of this into practice. I hope that it's going to help you with proportions and also different types of poses and stuff. Hopefully. That's the goal, is that this is going to help people.
Yes.
Fox is doing a thing. There you go.
Why?
Why what?
You're getting one. There it goes.
There we go.
I couldn't do it from my phone for some reason. It's fine. I got it. Nah.
Yeah, technically I'm on Fox's computer and he's on mine at the moment, so.
Right.
Yeah. So I really hope that this was helpful for some of you.
Yeah.
And again, if you guys are already like established artists and stuff, sometimes it's fun to see how other people do their basics, so.
Program away.
Programming? That sounds hard.
I did that for all of a year. I got 2 years. I did Q Basic and all that in like high school, and then 1 year of programming study, and decided never mind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Must be creative. Yeah, Jim is highly experienced, and I am about 4 months in this journey. As far as the art goes.
Getting inspired by beginners is one of the best things about being creative. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like going through basics and stuff is just really important for anybody. It's always good to have a refresher, even if you're like an established artist and stuff like that. I find it's interesting to watch other artists like do their own sketches and stuff like that, just to see how their brain processes certain shapes and stuff. So there's always room for people to learn new things or to try and further their overall experience level, I guess. Art is amazing. You can make people happy too. Yeah.
True.
Or tell stories.
Or show boobies.
No.
Yeah.
We can't do that here.
Those are stories in and of themselves.
It's not allowed here.
Stupid.
You have to blame Twitch for not allowing me to have a Naked Redeem just like Fox.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. That is it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, so I guess if that's everything then, if nobody has any questions, I hope that was pretty straightforward and useful. I guess we could switch over to Fox and see if he can try and do a good skeletal structure of some sort. Yeah. Yeah. You can do it. Yeah, so I guess just give us a second. We'll do the BRB screen so we can switch our computers and models. And we'll see Fox go ahead and try and apply what we learned.
I'll scribble triangles and cylinders and 3 eyes on your face.
So we're gonna go ahead and do that.
Burb.
Yeah. Burp.
Look, I made art.
No.
It's art. I'm done. There, look at my nose. That's it's perfect. My irises. Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's actually kind of cute, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It's fox. There's a tongue. There. There we go. Fix this. This. Ah, perfect. 3 eyes. Look at it. I even got the eye portions. All right, fine. All right. Here we go. Now
All right, Kermit.
all right.
Time to make you do the art.
I have to do the art.
Yeah.
It looks like a frog. It is a frog. Everything is a frog, as is necessary to be said frog. The horrible sized circle. Nope, still not circle. 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 How big are we here? Totally a circle.
Try not to do it all in one line. Do small little lines if you need to.
All right. I mean, I can do the sketchy bits.
Mm-hmm.
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 Good.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
A skeleton. The whole skeleton. You just put it on the page, right? Just bloop, it's done.
Finish the face shape first. Where's the person looking? Are you just doing a regular, like almost T-pose type pose just for the start, or
T.
you want them just facing forward straight, kind of like our models, or?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll use that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with that then. Start with that. That's good. Very good.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
So now you need to do a
The spine, the center line.
Yeah. Why is it curved?
I don't know. I draw a straight line to save my life.
Okay, do a little short burst then. There you go. That's better. Okay. Oh! Oh, fuck. It's gonna make this so difficult.
This is delightful. Torture me, will you? Look, I'll draw hands. I'm done.
No.
Now he's Wolverine as well. Oh. And then the shoulders.
Yeah, so because it's a straight pose, there's not really going to be any curvatures or anything. So you've got to do straight shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's not the circles.
Try doing the chest first.
The chest first. No. So we make a square. Ish.
Mm-hmm. And then your shoulders.
In the center line. Circle. Circle.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. It's not gonna all fit on there, it's fine. I'm gonna rotate it. Can't do this. So I can do kind of the hips. Like the V shape.
Mm-hmm.
Aha, see look. Fuck those feet. No feet.
Not a V, that's a bucket.
There's a bucket.
Are you drawing a femme character or mask character or just none of the above?
A skeleton at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's more like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the joint goes low.
If you want, you can start doing where the elbow joint would be.
Would be the same.
It's going to help you with the placements for the body as well.
So I have the hips to go up to the elbow.
The elbow is always in the middle of the collarbone line and the hip line.
Like so.
No.
Collarbone.
Yeah, so the collarbone line and the hip line.
Mm-hmm.
The elbow will always be somewhere in the middle.
That's what you're saying.
No.
The hips don't lie.
This is the collarbone line. This is the hip line. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle here.
So it's like below. Okay. So we're talking like this.
Mm-hmm. But it also, I think your hip section is a little too low. Be a little bit higher, I think.
Okay. Yeah, no. Just not that. This. About so.
That's so.
About so. About face. About face. Alright.
Okay. So now you have your hip joints.
So a good placement on, like here, up here, not down there.
For what?
Where the joint should go? Should it cover the whole thing? Like.
So if you want, you can reference what we drew before.
The majority, unless you're doing this way.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
All right.
So now it's going to be the leg line, but you're going to need more room.
I don't want more room. I don't have to worry about it then. That's fine. I'll just shrink.
The hips don't lie. Exactly.
That's right.
So now, when you're drawing, you can do the top part of the leg to the knee joint, and how what's going to help you with the size of that is that the elbow to the wrist,
all right,
and the hand will end in the middle of that part of the leg.
Yeah. The wrist should end here.
No, the end of the hand, pretty much. That's pretty good, I would say.
Do that on a different line if I want to do that. A bit more like that. It's a very terrible pose. Very boring.
So do you see that that hand is a lot higher than you intended it to be?
Not the same.
A bit better. A little lower, I think. That's good. All right. Now the leg. You know that the knee is going to be a little bit. The hands are halfway.
Yeah, somewhere around there. No, it's the end of the end of the hand.
End of the hand is the middle of the leg, the top part of the leg.
Like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We need more room again.
Mm-hmm.
Should have rotated the canvas. All right. Monkey.
Just a little.
Now it looks like a monkey.
Oh,
maybe not that.
That's not good.
Button. Then this leg will be about the same length.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do about the triangle for foots.
Yeah, if you want to do it as simple as possible, you can do the triangle.
It's a skeleton.
It's a skeleton.
I can give him bounce. That's about.
So now you want to further the simple skeleton structure that you got.
All right.
And again, when you do the more complicated skeletal structure, it will help you see if your proportions does make sense because you're adding more volume to it. So just seeing it like this can be a little bit difficult to see if it's actually proportionate or not. So adding the extra shapes to it kind of makes it look more voluminous. Just makes everything feel like it has more weight to it, and it's a little bit easier to actually visualize the shape of the character you're drawing. So it kind of helps you see if like that looks right or not. Sometimes you might have to make slight adjustments to the proportions that you originally laid down, just so that it looks more correct, and that's totally fine because sometimes just doing the simple skeletal structure isn't enough information for your eyes to see if it makes sense or not. So if I were you, I would do it on another layer.
Layer 22.
Incoming ads, take cover.
I noticed that it wasn't doing that before. I wonder why it was not.
I don't know.
It's weird. Anyway, we still have a minute.
No idea.
We'd reshape the chest piece a little bit.
Yeah, reshape it to so you can see it more like a rib cage rather than.
Not quite.
What can help you with that is doing the 2 circles in between.
The 2 circles.
Mm-hmm. Those are very, very small.
All right.
What body shape are you going for?
I don't have one in mind at the moment.
A little bit more femme?
Sure. That tends to be what I draw the most of anyway.
So I feel like the hip circle will be a little bit larger than the torso circle. And the circles are not just in the middle there. If you look at the reference for the femme shape, if you want, you can erase, like move them around or whatever if you want. So you can see it better on the side. Open it up.
Which one am I moving?
The complicated one. You can hide the simple one.
Are they all separate layers?
Yep. They're all separate folders.
Simple. Face. And then. Oh, that's one layer.
That way it's going to help you a bit better. Because my words are not wording very well, and it's gonna get a little difficult for me to just verbally explain.
It's all right.
There you go.
And then Shrinky Poo. Nope.
Yeah. So as you can see, the chest circle kind of goes into the curve of the rib cage, right? So I would make your first skeletal structure slightly translucent and draw on top of it.
All right. Boop.
There you go. Now try and turn it into the more complicated skeletal structure. Ask me questions if you are confused.
This for the top part. Going up to the collarbone. If we do
That's better.
that circle. Let's draw a circle.
Not bad.
Okay. Mine is a little more. There we go here.
Also, just for the viewers, I would make it fill the canvas.
Uh,
The little square at the end here will fill the canvas.
I don't think I've ever used that.
There you go.
Ba-da-dum.
That's very good. Much better. Don't forget your center line.
Should curve more this way.
Yeah, pretty good. Again, because it's very plain position you chose, which is good. If you want to start off with a simple pose, way better for you to get used to what the shapes are supposed to be. And then eventually you can start doing more complicated poses. But just to start, I would try and keep it as simple as possible, especially if you're a beginner. Very good.
Messy sketches. These get kind of squished.
Yeah, they're not as prominent, but I like to keep them there just to remember that it's a joint. It's like a visual representation of a joint. Yeah. Nice. So now if you'd like,
Robots.
it might be better to start with the leg shape, just so that before you start doing the hands, which you will have to adjust because they're too in.
Right, right.
I would start with the leg thickness that you want, and that's going to help you a lot for the arms.
Cylinders. More like that.
Yeah.
Then this all connects that way.
Yeah.
And this. And another cylinder. Doop, 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 doop.
I like to make the kneecaps go over the cylinders because it then helps you when you're doing the detailing work of a knee, because kneecaps are resting on top of the joint. They're not even really too attached, I don't think. I think there's maybe something attaching them there, but you could kind of move around your kneecap a bit, so. Or at least some people do. I think I can because I hurt myself when I was a child.
Right.
Good.
And then replicate.
Yeah. No, that's good. You tapered it down. It's good. I hope that this is helping everybody. Again, if you guys have questions, ask away. We're here to help.
Distract me, quick. The existential dread is kicking in. This goes here. I'll get a kneecap.
It's pretty good. Very nice.
Little.
A little thickums, maybe.
Here it comes.
Very good.
I think there's something on the screen. Got to push the arms out.
Yeah, a little bit. Don't forget to do the collarbone area.
Pull pull it over for the moment.
And again, the way you did the fingers there, now it doesn't make any sense. It made your arms look way longer.
All right.
The end of the hand should be in the middle of the leg.
The fingertips should be?
The fingertips included, yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
If you stand up and put your arms down, you're going to see that the fingertips maybe go just a little bit below the halfway point. So you have a little bit of wiggle room there, but like you don't want it touching the knees. That's very long arms.
Mm-mm.
Of course, if you have a character that has extremely long arms, totally fine. But we're trying to do this as basic as possible, so.
Bit more like that.
A little bit more. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Better. Boop. Boop. Ah, the advantage of digital art.
Very nice.
Shoulders. It's shoulders, knees, and toes. Redo the collarbone.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget you can fit 2 heads beside the main head. On either side of the head.
That feels right to me.
Yep, I'm just
Okay.
saying it again.
Okay.
Obviously, this changes with different styles, you know? Like, if you look at my model personally, my head is much larger than...
I think it's we went a little more anime with the way the models work. I suppose my head fits.
Your head fits.
Yeah.
I gave you very broad shoulders.
You'd have a lot more bulbous hair. A lot more.
Yeah, but like the actual size of my face is a bit larger than it should be. But that was a stylistic choice. I wanted my shoulders to be itty bitty.
Little blah. Perfect. You just do another circle.
Mm-hmm.
And this is longer.
So if you're looking at the new way that you're drawing the skeletal structure,
Right.
the elbow needs to be a little bit lower for it to be like just below the middle point. It's not supposed to be like exactly in the center of the upper body.
It needs to be below this. So here.
Like the tip of the so if you put your elbows down, it's going to be like right above where your hip bone, like the tallest part of your hip bone is.
All right. A bit more like.
I think that's better. Yeah, a little bit better, I think.
And then this arm feels switty.
I think you could bring it up just a little bit.
Not that. This please. More there.
Yeah.
The understructures. So it's just barely above here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Roll there. Arm feels a little small.
Do the hand.
This. And then the fingers. And the thumb. Close enough. Okay, the joints. Next set of fingers.
Yeah, but you remember it's supposed to be curved?
What's curved?
The joint placement of the fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's literally the way mine go. These are straight, and then these ones curve down.
Yeah, everybody's hands are different, but as long as it's curved, it will always look a little bit better.
Mm-mm. A bit more like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even know about that button. That's amazing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Education. This one. This one here. Straight. No.
Yeah, you want it to be matching the other side since they're very straightforward.
Da-da-dum. Da-da-dum. Maybe that feels better, but. Oh, nope. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it just freezes on the eraser.
Mm-hmm.
We get our rectangle. Our thumb. Horrible thumb. It's alright.
Wonder if it would have been easier if you just tried to recreate the pose.
Maybe. Alright, we'll try that next time.
Yeah, we'll do that next time.
Finger,
Because again,
finger,
it's
finger.
always harder to draw without reference, especially if you're a beginner. I feel like having a reference is just the best thing that you can do because then you can compare it to what it's supposed to look like. Obviously, having like real person reference is best. But again, if you have like those little puppets that you can move around, those are great too. Or if you just get somebody to take a photo of you in the specific pose and angle that you want the image to be in.
Yeah.
It's just way better to have that kind of a reference. I think there's some people that put out like real human people photos, poses out there for
I think
free.
I saw one on Blue Sky.
Yeah, so I think some people do that for artists, but again, just take a photo of yourself or somebody that you know if they don't mind. Having a real person reference is always best because then you can see what it really is supposed to look like and what's like humanly possible. Some people like to over exaggerate certain poses and stuff, which is fine, but I feel like for me personally, when I see those kinds of poses, I'm kind of just like, yeah, this just doesn't feel real to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, it's great. The techniques were great. It was executed great. But like, I don't care. I can't do that position.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty flexible.
That is true. It is true.
So, I mean, I guess it's all about preference. But if you're beginning and you're just starting out and you're struggling with poses, references are the best. Some beginners tend to use references of other people's artwork. Don't do that. It's just one, it's better not to try and copy somebody else's art style, but two, I think it's just better in general to use a real person photo reference because it's more accurate, and if you have somebody else's art piece, you're going to just automatically use their own art style as your reference. And it's better to just try and learn the basics on your own and actually learn how to develop your own specific style. And I feel like the best way to do that is just to have like real person models or the little like character figure thing that you can pose because it's like it's proportionate but has no style, So that is what I recommend. My tips and tricks for if you're ever using a reference for a pose. Mannequin, yeah,
Mannequin.
it's a mannequin. It's a specific one that I'm thinking of. It's like a little mannequin made out of wood, you know? And you can like put it in poses the way that you want to, and it has like a stick up its butt.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? When I was younger and first starting off, I had one of those. I would put it in the pose that I wanted, then use my cell phone camera to take the
Yeah.
picture in the angle that I want as well. And if you use that, it's great. Obviously, Clip Studio Paint, it has its own like 3D program for those kinds of mannequins. Those are great, but personally, I have a hard time with like trying to get it into the pose that I want it to.
Spend more time getting the pose instead
Yeah,
of...
I spend more time trying to get the pose right rather than just like quickly moving a physical mannequin and taking a photo. Um, yeah, I feel like having that is probably the best thing that you can have. But again, if you have like a friend that doesn't mind taking like posing or taking a photo of you in the pose, do that as well.
Understand.
Yeah, but like the basic mannequin thing, that's the best. And I think you can get them at like a dollar store or a general store like that. Or an art store. Sometimes they sell them for pretty cheap. Like they have different sizes of them. You don't have to have the biggest size either. Like the little really small ones are just as doable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that there was a company that released some that were like anime looking mannequins.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so for people that had anime style or want to draw anime, that was pretty good for them. And I feel like there were a lot more there was a lot more things to get from it, but it was a lot more expensive. So honestly, just get the wooden mannequins.
What a wooden guy.
They're cheaper and they do exactly the same thing.
About like so?
That's pretty good. You did good. Very nice.
I don't think I've put the lines up on the top of the head like that before.
Mm-hmm. So the only critique I might have is that you made the person very top heavy. The arms are pretty thick.
Okay.
So if you want to fix that, you would have to make the bottom part thicker. The legs and hips a bit thicker and wider to balance her out. So you could just select it and make it bigger, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And include the ball. The lower ball.
Include her balls. Noted.
Yeah.
Only one ball.
Hi, Artie. Welcome in.
What's up, Artie?
Thanks for stopping by.
You're the best, burb.
The bestest of verbs.
Blah, 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 blah. Better?
You been lurking?
Oh, you're so sweet.
Watching all the scuff?
Best, burb.
It's not really scuff. I think it's more Gemini brain scuff.
I think it's all okay. I think it's a good
You're doing amazing. Aww.
good thing.
Thank you. I'm not like a professional teacher or anything, but I do my best.
I'd buy you a teacher's outfit.
You what?
I'd buy you a teaching outfit. Teachers.
What's considered a teacher's outfit? Don't they just wear their own clothes?
I don't really know. Connie, what do you wear teaching?
Yeah, that feels a little bit better.
It feels better.
Yeah, now she's not so top heavy.
No, his foot needs to be bigger too.
That's much better. Now, don't forget the ear placement.
It's a little bit different because I don't have a jawline.
But you have the mouth line.
I do have the mouth line.
This music is a vibe.
It is Night's Lucid Dreaming.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We like being lucid.
Lucid.
I like how you knew the type of joke I was trying.
That's right. Been almost a year married, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, even then, like in the beginning.
Snap back to reality.
Sometimes Fox could hear what I was thinking. It was very interesting.
That's fun.
especially when we were long distance.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Maybe I'll start doing that when you're doing something wrong.
Just hit me in the head with teeth.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That is where it needs to be. However, one ear is not as high as the other one. It's a bit better. It's a bit better, but it's still a little bit squished. You gave a little bit more space for the other ear. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That's a bit better. Much better.
So I just go with Elfie. It's fuck it. We're never done. I say that's done. That's done. Oh, that's it.
Again, not how. I mean, you could
It's
draw.
not how you draw Elfie.
I have my own specific.
Yes, they should go straighter for the earlobe.
Yeah, that's a bit better.
Yeah.
I know that some people draw elf ears that way. Kudos, totally fine.
I'm gonna draw floppy.
But I feel like it's just way too stiff looking when they go up like that.
There you go.
That's fine. But you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I feel like elf ears should be curvy and sexy, you know?
Yeah.
Curvy, sad, and sexy.
Gotta have a little droop.
So, you did pretty good. Are you proud of yourself?
I don't really like the arm, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, the arm. I mean, arms are gonna look a little weird if you're doing like a more stiffer pose, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very. When you do a stiff pose like that, it looks very unnatural because nobody really does a.
No, nobody stands for like that.
And I'm not moving and I'm straight.
Yeah. Straight in these days? Ha ha! I don't think so.
Breaking news: nobody is straight.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, nobody stands like that. It's just
yeah, nobody stands like that. And if they do, usually they're about to punch you in the face. You know, like they're angry or something. But yeah, so of course, doing a simple straight pose like that, it's gonna feel a little bit more unnatural, which is why you're probably unhappy with it. But the proportions are there, and that's what's important. Things are placed where they should be placed, you know, and since you're still a beginner and stuff, like this is pretty good. You didn't have like a pose reference or anything, so of course having a reference will always like help improve the posing and where you place things and stuff, because you have something to look back to be like, okay, well, what I drew isn't exactly that correct position. And again, if you do have a reference, like you don't have to have it exactly the same pose or anything. But if you're starting out, I would say try to recreate the pose as accurately as possible because it's good practice.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of how Fox kind of just showed us how you can start from the simpler skeletal structure and then beef it out to be the more complicated skeletal structure. So that's pretty good to have that for people to see. What you doing now?
I'm just free-handing while you're talking.
I mean, it's not bad. Look at that.
Squishy bitch.
Again, you don't have to do it in the order that I do it either. Like, if this feels better for you and then you do the head later and adjust things later, it's totally fine. But again, you'd have to adjust things so that it is proportionate, because freehanding like this, sometimes things are not in the right place.
Yeah.
And you can adjust it once you have all of it down. Some people just do like the really simple skeletal structure just to have the basic idea down quickly, and then they'll start doing it a little bit more complicated.
Yeah. Get out of the way. It's too much of a break. Me.
Yeah, that leg's a little wonky, but the top part's really great. And the other leg is pretty good.
This one's good.
Yeah. The other one's a little wonky.
Yeah, this one's messed up. We did the thing.
Yeah, you did it. Very proud of you.
Just one leg. There's a bookcase here. See?
I'm glad that my lessons did something.
It's a bookcase.
Is that a bookcase?
Books. And there's a bookcase. See?
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, there's a bookcase.
Look at you drawing a bookcase.
A little perspective.
4 months ago, you wouldn't be able to.
That's right. There's a little wall
That's a very
here.
good bookcase.
There's a bookcase.
It's delicious. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Yeah. It's 3D. I feel like I could touch it and eat it.
You could. It's delicious. It's made of wood. Perfect. It's even got a little wooden pattern. And there's a little eyeball thingy here. And there's some wood. And
very good.
Some fire.
So we've been going for over 2 hours now. That's pretty good.
Perfect.
It's not bad for a little lesson.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions,
what's your questions?
I also want to know, like, what's the next thing that you guys want to learn in the next stream? I was thinking I could do probably the face and head stream.
Face is delicious.
Just for like the placement, different angles, how to accurately do different angles and not make it look really wonky. I could also throw in how to draw like simple mouth and nose, as well as eyes. Of course, I feel like eyes especially change the art style a lot depending on what kind of style of eye you want to do.
I'm still fighting eyes.
Like I do eyes very specifically for my normal artwork. And not everybody can recreate that. So I'll try and do it like as simple as possible to not like overcomplicate things and confuse people. But I was thinking that I could go straight into facial structure and proportioning for the next stream. If not, either hands and feet, I think would be like the best progression for stream. What do you guys want? Head or hands and feet? Be cool if we could put a what's it called?
A poll?
Yeah.
I'll do a poll real quick.
Yeah, do a little poll.
I don't know if it'll pop up this way. Open setup menu. Yeah, it's not gonna open it here. No, it is. Next stream head.
Hands and feet.
Handy. We'll go whatever, 2 minutes.
Nice.
There's a poll. You can vote. Remember, democracy's not dead, but it could be.
Nice.
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 What could the answer be?
11. 17.
I wonder if anybody is voting. Get your votes in. Vote.
Remember,
If not, I will decide your fate.
It's my fate. You're gonna make me draw hands.
Decide Fox's fate now.
Yeah. Fox draw hands.
Incoming ads in 1 minute.
No.
No.
Take that.
Who, me?
Somebody.
Why am I taking it?
Wait.
I want you to take it.
No. No, maybe. We'll have chat vote on that. Everyone votes then. Yeah. It's a little small.
What is?
The head.
Might be a little bigger.
Really?
I don't know. The neck is not correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because it's on an angle, you're not You didn't do the circle.
It was just a circle. I can't draw circles.
Yeah, but it's not supposed to be there because it's on an angle. You're gonna have the back of the head there too. Yeah, there you go. Ah, 2 votes
For head.
for head.
All right.
Okay, so I'll set up the next stream to go over head.
That sounds fucking good.
We'll just call the stream art tutorial head question mark.
That's right.
All right. Well, if there's no questions and stuff, I guess that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
I really hope that it was helpful to someone, even if it was just Fox.
That's true. It's true. I had a good time.
Thank y'all for stream. Thanks, Demi, for hanging out. Means a lot.
Oh no, who am I doing what? Who am I doing what? Twitch. There we go.
Incoming ads again while we're trying to
Stop
read
it.
out.
Stop with the ads. Stop with the ads.
Yeah, so I'll set up hopefully something that's really helpful to place stuff on face. Not sticky stuff, but stuff.
They're doing art. The CB Doodles is doing art. We can go see CB.
All right.
They did a few of my emotes. Oh god, they're 23 hours. What are they doing?
Thank you for stream. Always a pleasure. Of course. Thanks for hanging out.
Oh, hey,
Really
cool.
means a lot.
That's a lot of things.
We were excited for the art tutorial stuff, so
Yeah, our pleasure.
it means a lot that people seem to enjoy it and actually are tuning in. So
Yeah. All right, we'll go bug CB. They're doing a Fundathon's 4-year stream anniversary. They did a couple of my emotes, the older emotes.
ooh,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
CB Doodles. What they doing, arts?
Thank you everyone for stopping by, and we'll see you again probably Friday with something.
Yeah, something.
And then Saturday we should also have something, and then Sunday art stream again.
Yeah. I think tomorrow we're going to put out a schedule later tonight. So take care of yourselves. Love.
Bye.
Bye. Mute CB.
And Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to decide which one of our friends